Hey everybody, it's the Crypto-Anarchist here, and I'm bringing you guys a short video on blockpress.com, why I think it's complete dog shit. It really makes the Bitcoin Cash community look bad, and I'm going to start telling other communities, specifically PIVX and ZeCoin, because right now I think they're technically speaking, like they're the best coins. You can't get any better than these coins. And if Bitcoin Cash keeps going the way it's going, it's going to die in 10 years because the community, they're really fucking up, and they keep on building outside applications that are completely backwards and opposite of what the original vision of Bitcoin Cash was meant to be. So I'm going to talk about it. And when I started using this site, it just seemed really scammy. Just because of the way it's designed, and the whole fuck up that the Bitcoin Cash community is doing is they think that the more information you put on the blockchain, the better. That's not how it works. When you're building applications using Bitcoin, it's supposed to be fast, cheap, reliable, impossible to censor. That's the main things. And BlockPress might be fast, I guess, but it's not cheap. It's not reliable, and there's no censorship proof to it whatsoever. What I mean when I say it's not reliable, and this is sort of a smaller issue, but it really pissed me off. I was trying to just set the photo URL here, and I knew already, like, I just created an image within GIMP. That's the Ubuntu version, basically, of Photoshop, the free Ubuntu version of Photoshop. And I knew it wasn't going to probably get set up here, but I just wanted to see what would happen if I tried. And so I did it twice, and it does take your money. So even if you make a mistake, it takes your goddamn money, and that's really shitty. It's like microtransactions on Xbox. That's what BlockPress and Memo.Cash feel like to me. And again, the reason why this is really shitty is because the original purpose and the original intent of cryptocurrencies, and specifically Bitcoin Cash in particular, was it's supposed to be cheap and easy to use and reliable. And so a lot of people who actually use Twitter, they use it a lot. It's not uncommon to see people who do 30 tweets a day. And so if you're doing 30 tweets a day on something like BlockPress, where it costs 1/3 of a cent per goddamn tweet, that's 10 cents a day. So if you do this for a full 365 days a year, that's $36.50 to use it. Who the fuck is going to use that if you're competing with something like Twitter when it's free? I mean, it's mentally retarded, to say the least. It's absolutely mentally retarded. And I'm going to show you guys here that you can do absolutely everything that Memo.Cash is doing, and it doesn't matter how much people are putting on the blockchain. You can give them complete censorship resistance, and you can do it for 4 cents a year. 4 cents a year, no matter what. And if you have advertisement on your platform, you can just pay for all the transaction fees through the advertisement. You don't have to. The user doesn't have to pay shit. 4 cents a year it's nothing. It's literally pennies. 4 pennies in a goddamn year. Right now, if you try and use BlockPress and you're a heavy Twitter user, you're going to pay $35 or $36.50. What do you think a user is going to want? To pay 4 cents or $36.50? It's not a big fucking. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist for this, and this is really pissing me off because the Bitcoin Cash, not the internal developers, but the developers building outside applications, they're terrible. They're absolutely terrible. So again, this video is directed more at the ZCoin and PIVX crowd because ZCoin and PIVX are, technically speaking, like they're the best coins out there on the market right now. They've got incredibly intelligent developers. The one thing that the ZCoin community doesn't really have is they don't have outside developers working on things. This is something an outside developer could easily do because, again, like Memo.Cash, it has an open source. It's open source code, so you can just copy and paste the code and then make the few differences you want to make and then put it on ZCoin or PIVX. And if you do this, then ZCoin and PIVX, both of which are way undervalued right now, they can start competing for the best on-chain scaling coins. Okay, so if PIVX and ZCoin start doing this, they can start taking the mantle from something like Bitcoin Cash. And again, Bitcoin Cash already has a terrible image within the community, so the community would welcome this really quickly. Again, I'm very invested in Bitcoin Cash. I want Bitcoin Cash to succeed, but just watching what these developers are doing, I don't think that they're going to do it. So to go down to the nuts and bolts of the issue, the problem is if you look at the tweets here, when they put tweets on the blockchain, they're putting the whole goddamn tweet on the blockchain. And what does this accomplish? Because it doesn't accomplish anything. It makes it super expensive, and it makes it impossible to tell whether there's been censorship or not. And a lot of people are like, well, but if you put it on blockchain, then you know if it's been censored or not because it's on the blockchain. Let's examine that statement here, okay? Because again, if we look at this, look at the post first, and then look at what's put on the blockchain. It's the exact same thing here, right? So if I want to make sure that there's been no censorship resistance and nothing's been changed, I have to go through, look at every single tweet that everyone has ever posted on BlockPress, and I have to examine every single word, every single letter, every single character. So if we assume that, each user, let's say they're not like super massively heavy users, and they only do like 3 tweets a day, so that's 1,000 tweets over a year, right? So if you have 1,000 tweets over a year, and each tweet is about 200 bytes, okay, that's 200,000 bytes per person, right? And then if you do, or per person, if you have 1 billion people, that moves you up to saying that you're going to now have 200,000 quadrillion, or sorry, 200 quadrillion bytes that you're going to have to look through to see whether or not BlockPress has been censored. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Is this a joke? I thought the whole point of Bitcoin Cash and the use of SPV wallets and Merkle roots and things like that was to make it super fast and easy and very, very few computational resources to prove that, you know, there's been no censorship and things like that. I mean, it's a fucking joke to say the least, and this pisses me off to an incredible degree, because they're lying to everybody. One, they're lying when they say that they're censorship resistant. One, they're lying that when they say they're cheap, and they're not even, like, everything they're doing is the exact opposite of everything that I've been told that Bitcoin Cash stood for. Okay, and this really pisses me off, and it literally takes, like, the fix is just one quick weekend. Before I get to that fix, though, another thing that really pisses me off about the way that they do things, and this will actually, you can fix this through the fix that I'm going to be talking about, but, like, when I tried to set my photo URL, I put in something that wasn't, I knew it wasn't the right format. I just wanted to see what happened, so I did it twice, and it takes your money. Like, you can, if you put the wrong thing into a photo URL and try and change it, it takes your money no matter what, and it sort of gives you a preview of what your profile is going to look like when you put in this new URL. But if you put in something that's wrong, you know, how are you really going to know that it's supposed to be showing you a preview when if you have the wrong format, it doesn't show you anything? It's really stupid, and it's like microtransactions on the Xbox, and it's really scammy feeling when it happened. I was like, this is a disgusting website. It's absolutely disgusting. But going back to how you fix this, and again, this fix is so fucking stupidly easily, and it's just what Bitcoin does. Just do what Bitcoin does, you know. So if ZCoin and PIVX want to do this, again, remember the Memo.Cash code, it's all open source, and any competent developer should be able to do this pretty quickly. The fix that I'm going to tell you is not a complete fix. It's just infinitely better than what we have now. There are still improvements you can do on top of the fix that I'm going to show you guys. But the fix is just to start putting tweets on the blockchains in hashes, and you don't put every tweet on the blockchain, okay? You combine hashes into a Merkle root, and then once a month, and you can change how much, like how often you do this, and you'd probably ask a user, like, do you want to put your Merkle root of all your tweets for the past month on the blockchain, or do you want to do it weekly? Do you want to do it yearly? Monthly is probably a pretty, that just seems like a really good choice, because then it's only 4 cents a year, and make sure that you put your blocks or your tweets up there enough that you can prove whether or not you've been censored and things like that. So going to this person's post here, it's a guy named Nicky Freedom. Don't really know who he is. It's a good post here. It's like, this should be the official Bitcoin Cash anthem, Daft Punk's Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. It's a good, decent argument or whatever. But if you look at what they're putting on the blockchain, again, they put the full goddamn tweet. They put the full goddamn tweet. And this makes, again, this makes no sense whatsoever, because all you have to do, if you put this tweet into a hash, okay, you might not think at first that this hash is it's smaller, or that it's much smaller, and that's because it's really not. This hash is a little bit smaller. It moves you down from, or basically it's shown in bytes rather than in bits, so it reduces the amount of information that you put on the blockchain by a little bit. But this isn't where the scaling comes into, and this isn't where the censorship resistance comes into. You have to, the thing is, or the whole key to the system is you're not putting every goddamn hash, you're not putting every goddamn tweet on the blockchain. You're not putting every tweet, you're not putting every hash of the tweet either. What you do is you have one with each comment you put on BlockPress, you put the hash of the comment at the end. That way, if someone wants to check to see if anything's ever been altered, they can check the hash on the website itself. And then every month you put all the hashes together. So you take the hash of every tweet and you hash the tweets together into a Merkle root, right? So then you have a root hash. That way, when you put something onto the blockchain, you're not putting every tweet onto the hash, but you're putting proof that every tweet has been included on the hash. Because if any single tweet was altered in any way whatsoever, which is a form of censorship, like if they're trying to censor you, it'll show up in the root hash, and so everybody will know. Okay, and so the whole reason that you do this is then, rather than before, where if you've got, you know, thousands of users, and, you know, we said you're going to have to look through 200 quadrillion bits or bytes, whatever it was, worth of data to check to see if everything's been censorship resistant. With this, all you'd have to do is check. You have to check one person's Merkle hash or Merkle root hash. So like if we're talking about Nikki Freedom here, we go through, we hash each one of his tweets for the past month, and then we check that in the Merkle root, and you can actually do it with one single hash because again, since the individual hashes are all hashed together in a Merkle root, in that monthly Merkle root, and again, since if you alter any of the individual hashes, it alters the hash that, or it alters the Merkle root. So you really only have to check one hash, and you can check that. So you can take a hash of one tweet, check that hash of the tweets against that month's Merkle root, and if it still comes out to be perfect, then you're good to go. And then if you want to check that Merkle root hash that you have, that monthly Merkle root hash against all the other hashes in the blockchain, then you do it through this this root hash. And the whole reason why you do this is because Merkle roots make things scale infinitely. So you can have, check through billions and billions of tweets, and it takes like a kilobyte worth of processing and data that you have to receive. It literally takes like jack shit nothing. Okay, so, and you can prove full censorship resistance, again, in a couple thousand bytes worth of data with a Merkle root. Right now, you need 200 quadrillion bytes worth of data to prove whether or not BlockPress or Memo.Cash would be censorship proof if it has 1 billion users. 200 quadrillion bytes. It's either bits or bytes. I don't really know. I'm not going to restart the audio on this video just for that, but that's retarded. And if you do Merkle roots and you use hashes of your tweets and you combine those hashes in Merkle roots and then you put the Merkle root hashes on the blockchain rather than every single goddamn tweet, it only takes a couple thousand bytes. You guys see what I'm saying? So to prove censorship resistant, if you're using Merkle hashes, it takes a couple thousand bytes, and if you're not using Merkle hashes, it takes a couple quadrillion bytes. You see what I'm saying? It's a little bit of a goddamn difference. Okay, and again, the whole reason why this is super important is because you don't have to build anything. Okay, when you add transactions to the Bitcoin blockchain, they're already done in Merkle root hashes. Okay, the miners already keep all the information stored, because in order for Merkle root hashes to work, someone's got to store this information. So miners already do it. That's what they're there for. Okay, so you don't have to do jack shit. You just got to start putting things in hashes and Merkle roots, and that's it. Okay, that's goddamn it. And then you've just dropped the price of this website down from $36.50 a year to 4 cents a year. That's big. And you just dropped the price for when you have to check to see whether this website is censorship resistant from 200 quadrillion bytes to a couple thousand bytes. You see the difference? Okay, you offer everything, like everything improves when you do this. Everything improves. And then some of the Bitcoin Cash people are going to be like, well, we don't want to do that because that's less on-chain transactions. Imagine if you have 1 billion users on your Twitter website, and if they're doing one hash that they put on the blockchain every month, and you've got 1 billion users, that's 12 billion hashes over the period of a year, and that comes out to be somewhere around like 420 transactions a second. Okay, 420 transactions a second. That is big. That is big. That's a lot of goddamn throughput from one freaking application. One application, that's it. Okay, and then at this point, it's like it completely competes with something like Twitter. It's censorship resistant, which Twitter cannot guarantee. There's also one additional thing I want to say, that you can add more censorship resistance to something like this, because even when you're doing it this way, there is still the chance that, hey, what happens if BlockPress doesn't actually send your transactions to the blockchain correctly? So if you really want to get censorship resistance and get 100% proof that you've been censorship resistant, you'd have to do some sort of a multi-signature address, where you have a multi-sig address for the account that you have, or your profile on BlockPress or something like that. And the multi-sig address works out so that when BlockPress tries to put your Merkle root hashes onto the blockchain, it first asks the user to compute the Merkle root hash themselves, and they have to come out with the exact same Merkle root hash. Otherwise, it will not put that Merkle root hash on the blockchain. That's a little bit more complicated, and that'll take a little while to do. But as of right now, like this, changing this to putting hashes on the blockchain and then only putting Merkle root hashes like once a month on the blockchain, that is just a concatenation of that user's tweets for that month. Like, that's something really easy to do. You could do that super simple, and it literally makes these applications infinitely better. Not infinitely better, but they're better by like a factor of 1 million. So it's like 6 to 7 orders of magnitude better in terms of censorship resistance and how cheap it is, which is the main selling point. And so I don't like Memo.Cash and BlockPress aren't doing it, so I really hope ZCoin and PIVX do. It's not that hard to do. It's like I've seen a lot of people on the ZCoin and PIVX side where they're like, we need to do something, we need to do something. Well, take over Bitcoin Cash's place as the premier on-chain scalable blockchain, because both PIVX and ZCoin can both scale on-chain. There's nothing that's going to stop them from doing it. And so if they take this away from Bitcoin Cash, then not only can they do these secondary things, because both, again, PIVX and ZCoin, PIVX is completely proof of stake. ZCoin's it's a hybrid. I prefer completely proof of work, but having a proof of stake side of your blockchain can make certain things done off-chain sort of easier, or things like sharding. So if it becomes the premier, if ZCoin and PIVX become the premier on-chain scaling blockchains, and they've already got these other things that they can do better than Bitcoin Cash can, like, how's it going to compete? You know what I mean? And if you look at the prices of PIVX and ZCoin compared to Bitcoin Cash, they're way lower. And all you got to do, again, somebody's just got to build this, and then that's it. The one thing I would say about ZCoin and PIVX is I think they both need to increase their block sizes, because if you did start getting, like 400 transactions per second, obviously ZCoin can't handle that right now. Neither can PIVX. They can't. So you need big block sizes. Obviously, it's going to take a while to get to that level of use of any sort of thing like this, but you want your coin to be ready way before you actually need it. You don't want your blocks getting full. So I would really recommend ZCoin and PIVX raise their block sizes if they start getting people that start building applications like this. Okay. And again, this is something that's not necessarily for the actual like the developers of ZCoin and PIVX themselves, but it's more for outside developers. That being said, I think both PIVX and ZCoin have some sort of founder's reward. So I mean, if the developers do have time and the know-how to do this, the fact that they get paid by the community is like, it would be good for them to do if they can. But that being said, it's more of an outside developer thing to do. And again, this is just super easy. All you got to do is use hashes and Merkle roots. And so all you do is, for every tweet, again, if you go back to these people's tweets, just hash the tweet, and then at the end of the tweet, put the hash. And then eventually, and the other thing this does too is it makes your Twitter, like, instead of saying, oh, you can only have so many characters on your Twitter, you could put an infinite amount of characters on there, because your hash, it doesn't even matter. Like, you can hash the Bible and it's going to come out to 256 bits, okay, or it's 32 bytes. And this boggles my mind. They make everything infinitely worse on these applications by not using hashes and Merkle roots, and hashes and Merkle roots are the foundation of what made Bitcoin Cash. So it really pisses me off. So I'm really hoping that the ZCoin community and the PIVX community can get started on this. And if you're just like a poor developer who doesn't have a lot of money, it's a lot better to build this on ZCoin or PIVX, because what you can do is, let's say you only have like $1,500 to invest. Use that $1,500 to invest in either ZCoin or PIVX or both. Build this application on top of it, and then watch its price rise because its utility just rose. Okay, you can't buy that much of Bitcoin Cash if you were to try to do the same thing. So that's why I'm trying to target developers who have the know-how, but might not necessarily have the money. And if you have the know-how but not necessarily the money, do this on ZCoin or PIVX, and then potentially, if you really don't have any money at all, maybe ask for donations, and then just watch the price of your donations rise incredibly. But again, I really hope ZCoin and PIVX can do this, because Bitcoin Cash and the outside community developers are shooting themselves in the foot. They're making the entire community look like a bunch of idiots, because like, if you try to advertise this to somebody and they start using it, they're like, I have to pay for goddamn everything. It's pretty buggy right now, like, as in, if you make mistakes, you still have to pay for your fucking mistakes. It really seems like a scam website when you use it. It really pisses me off, because there's so much potential in Bitcoin Cash, but they're squandering it. So again, I don't care if Bitcoin Cash ends up fixing this. I don't care if ZCoin or PIVX does. I just want somebody to do it. I'm more about getting this stuff out there so that the world can use it than doing this for personal profit. Obviously, I'm making a lot of personal profit along the way, and I enjoy doing it. But I'm in this not for the money, but for bringing freedom and censorship resistance to the masses. And the Bitcoin Cash developers aren't doing it, and they really piss me off. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it made some sense to you guys. And I really hope the PIVX and ZCoin communities can build something better than Bitcoin Cash has, because Bitcoin Cash is doing terrible right now in this. And again, if ZCoin and PIVX, which, like, they're not known for being on-chain scalable blockchains, but if they take that away from Bitcoin Cash, they're going to become premier coins. Okay, premier coins. Top 25, if not top 10 coins. Okay. So this is all that they got to do. So I really hope that they do. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There will be more coming out soon.